I had a great refund rate. I had a great chargeback rate. I had response time to my customer support team, 36 minutes. I had no negative stuff online, never been sued, never had an issue, no state AG issues. I mean, so the metrics I was given,
Right.
I was check. And I would look at that. I had a paralegal full-time in the staff, in the
Right.
company,
And she was
who
great.
would review every
Yeah.
sales call that led to a sale. We would then refund people. We were on top of our sales team. We did not do aggressive financing programs. We did not allow home mortgaging. There was so much we did right, which I do believe created the context to help my case.
It's easy to picture you as a, in the basement, like in dark shades and trying to scam people, But when people get to meet you or they get to meet my clients, it changes that impression. So they see you're a tangible person, you're a real human being with a family and real life concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And that humanization is super helpful.
Major trouble.
No, it'd be fabulous. He's a security guard. What are they?
I wish I had gotten his name. I was just so...
Yeah, you're tripped out.
I was just like not in it, and he caught me so off guard.
Well,
I was like, what?
Think about the process when you go in there, because I've been there a lot, right? You go there, you have to give them your ID. You have to wait until they come down and get, you have to wait until they come down to get you. And when they do that, you're tripped out. It's all intimidation factor. I mean, where else do you have to, here's my driver's license, I have to sign in, and then you wait for them to get you, and then you go up the elevator to go into a conference room where they're sitting waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all set up for intimidation.
So here's how it went down for me. So first of all, I was a little surprised that they said okay to coming in and talking to them because...
Oh, they'll meet with you.
Well, but the track record had been that they were only allowing Zoom, it was post-COVID, yada, yada. So it was me, it was 2 attorneys that were representing us, and it was, I think, four people from our team. So it was a bit of a crowd. We went 7, 8 of us. And the original goal was that I'm going to create this presentation.
Yeah, I know, I remember.
Right? And then it will be presented by the attorney, which like a day before was like, well, I think you should do it. What? But
no, I'm sorry. Everybody has different styles, but I can tell you what I'm not doing in that situation because it's all about control, right? Yeah. Like I want to show control. So I would be like, not that I would be control over you, but I wouldn't want to show command.
So first and foremost, I was given advice as to how the presentation should go, and I made my own decision. I said, I'm going to do it my way. Here's what I did. I did like 30, 35 slides. By the way, I think it's super ironic.
And you did it your way.
That I went into the FTC, and as my defense, I conducted a webinar. In front of them, I had a PowerPoint slide. When I left out of there, I was like, did anyone else catch the irony of what just occurred?
Did you see that I made $56 million in marketing? Did you see that I did this?
So I so badly wanted to make the headline like sound like a webinar. Of course, this is that was no time to joke around.
That's a bad phone.
But can I say this? So before we went into to present to the FTC, the message that was given to our attorney at that time was a scary one. And I'm never a part of these presentations, guys. So or these conversations. I'm giving you what I remember hearing. So I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't think my attorney would lie to me. And at that time, obviously, the attorney was not Greg. He's not the one who went with me. But what they told that time attorney was, we will be seeking the similar settlement to what was for DK Automation. Okay. Which I think, I know you were named on that as one of their representatives, but I had read that. It had been out for, at that point, a bunch of time. And I was like, oh, hell no. That is horrible. I will not accept that. And so that had me freaked out. And I was told by my attorney at the time, like, hey, man, I think you should be pretty prepared. Like that. They seemed pretty serious about that. I said, all right. So I went into this presentation with the ultimate goal of saying, no, I'm not that. I will not accept that. So anyways, I decided the one thing that I've always taught my students, specificity, numbers, data.
Right.
If someone doesn't believe you, provide data that backs up your belief.
Sure.
And they can't argue with that. Data doesn't have feelings. Data can only 2 plus 2 is 4. It's
numbers
not
don't
3.
lie.
It's not 5. If I told you 2 plus 2 is 4 and you told me you think it's 3, you're the crazy one, not me, right? So I made a PowerPoint deck with just numbers. And so we walk in to the FTC's main building, which, by the way, it's a beautiful building.
It is a nice building. Yeah.
Nice use of taxpayer dollars.
I think DC is nice in general. So there's a lot of. But
that's an interesting sentiment. I'll leave that to you. I don't know. Being living here for a while, I try to avoid DC at all costs.
I know.
Parts of DC are nice. So, anyways, we walk in. You first go in. You got to check in, show your driver's license. They write your name down. Why you're here. Make a phone call. And who they're talking to. And then you go through to then you wait until it's your time. Then they say you may go in. So we waited for we were early. Want to be early. So we're early, about 45 minutes to an hour. So we waited in the lobby. It was okay. I'll tell you honestly, it was a pretty interesting sentiment. It was calm and composed. And then we went into a TSA type of check-in. So you go to the side. They actually look like TSA officers. So you put your stuff out. You go through a metal detector. Your stuff gets scanned. Now you enter.
Well, you didn't get the body search?
No, I thankfully.
Last 2 times. No.
No. So I go in. Now we find out that there's multiple divisions. So you're in the middle, and you kind of go off. There's the FTC on this side. There's someone else on this side. So they're like, go that way. That's the FTC. So okay. So we walked there. Half of us took a break to go use the restroom. I need to pee. Getting a little nervous at this point.
Bro.
No, it's dude, it's nervous. I'm trying to express my feelings at the time. Then you get to this glass door, okay? This glass big door. It's a wall of glass. It's locked. And you're looking in, and you can see the security guard there, and you see the big Federal Trade Commission written, and he looks at you, and he unlocks. You walk in. So I walked in after everybody. My team had already gone. I came in 2 minutes later. As soon as I walk in, they're all standing around the desk, and the guy from behind the desk, I see him peek over. It's the security guard, and he just goes, "Anik?" And in my head, I'm like, dude got the memo. Holy crap.
I know, what's going on here?
Why? Dude, you guys should not be excited that I'm here. I want to not be a thing of discussion. And he's like, oh, shit. I love you, man. I've been following you for years. I'm like, huh? Totally caught off guard, by the way. My brain is rehearsing this presentation that up until 24 hours ago, I didn't even know I was making. Right? I wrote it, but I didn't know I was presenting it. And so I'm going through my head, and he's like, and he goes this, I'll never forget this. This is my favorite moment, and I needed this moment. Because at that time, guys, I was in a pretty low place in my life, in my head. I was starting to get super convinced that I'm a horrible human being, right? I didn't. So anyways, he goes, shit, what are you doing here? And I just thought it was a funny question. So my exact answer to him, I kind of snickered, and I go, and I pointed at the logo, the Federal Trade Commission, which was right above his head. And this is his reaction. He goes, oh, man. That's right. And we all burst out laughing. And my attorney goes up to him, and he's like, so who are you? Da, 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 da. And and he's like, oh, I've never bought anything from you. But I followed you, and I've taken all your free courses. One of my slides in the presentation was about how we serve the community with free stuff all the time. And I remember going into that presentation in front of the FTC with so much more confidence because I felt better about myself.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm not evil. I haven't hurt everybody as I'm being made to possibly believe. Now, here's the funny thing. The FTC never said anything that made me feel that way. They were just asking questions. But yeah, of course, they ask questions as attorneys, right? They're picking apart my marketing material. But they never were during the investigation, they were never you're an effing asshole. We're going to totally destroy you. That actually never, I don't think ever happened. Or if it did, you guys didn't tell me about it. But
no.
Then we wait. The lead attorney from the FTC side comes down. There's 8 of us, and he comes to get us. I will tell you, in my life, the most awkward elevator ride ever.
You're fist bump.
I don't know. We shook hands. And we get in the elevator. So
no, because they don't talk to you. I know, because it's just you're sitting there, and it's
so something interesting happened. So as soon as he came down, the attorney goes, "Hey," and he's talking to the other attorney. He's like, "You gotta talk to this guy." And so he's a student of his, and he's excited. And so the guy behind the desk was like, "Yeah, I know him." And the attorney from the FTC couldn't have cared less.
They're whatever.
No reaction. We get in the elevator, dead silent. I mean, we probably went up 7-8 floors. Felt like an eternity. And about halfway up the elevator, so it's been quiet for a little bit, the attorney from the FTC just goes, well, that's a first. And we have no idea what he's referencing. Everyone on the other one was like, what? So my attorney goes,
what do you mean?
What's a first? And he goes, that down there. What happened with the security guard? And I remember going, so that made an impact, didn't? And he said, he goes, maybe I should go down there and talk to him later. And that was the last of it, though. Like, I doubt he did or whatever. But
it's not unique to the attorney that came down. My experience going into the FTC buildings is the same with every counsel. That it's always an awkward ride. It's all about intimidation. Like, it's part of it. It's to set up the stage for them. It puts you on your heels from the beginning. But to be
honest with you, if I'm being honest, I didn't feel that at all.
Good.
I didn't feel it was intimidating. I actually thought it was very down to earth. I think he came down. I think he's just not I don't think he was a very extroverted person.
I don't think it's unprofessional. I don't think that most of the attorneys that I've worked with at the FTC I think they're decent people to work with. I like to work with a lot of them. But yeah, it's just...
They shook my hand multiple times. They looked me in the eyes when we spoke. It wasn't a thing of like them judging me or feeling like it was. I walked away from it. I remember thinking they're just doing their job. I mean, whatever. Like, they're not my friends, and so I did my presentation. Here, I will say this.
They're not your friends, though. I mean, that's always...
Oh, hell no. They're not my friends. No,
but,
I mean,
it doesn't mean they're unprofessional.
So I finished my presentation.
Did they clap? They're like...
Killed it. I killed it. I expected...
They're like, well done. How can I buy your course, sir?
What?
That's what he said.
So hold on. You want to hear it? So here's the funny thing.
I'm ready.
I'm walking out when the whole thing's done, and the security guard goes, man, I'm going to go home. This is a sign. I'm like, what are you smoking, my friend? I love him. I want to meet him. If you're watching and you happen to be that guy, please reach out. I need to talk to you again. I'm sorry I didn't get your name and information. But I'm walking out, and he's like, man, this is a sign. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to buy your course. I'm ready. And I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, bro, the course is not for sale anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, why? And I'm like, what do you not understand about where you work, man? And so he's just like, and then he goes again, man. I was just laughing. But when I did my presentation, I finished it, and I'm like, yeah, right? It's funny. You're kind of in your head. In my head, I'm like, what do you expect? Because I was so disappointed by their reaction. I'm like, what do you expect them to be like? Bravo!
Yeah, well, they're all standing ovation.
Done. Case is over. Yes. We're so sorry. Please walk out. We'll buy you lunch, No. So this is their reaction.
Our bad.
Yeah. It was two people on the other side, and finished the presentation. And sorry, because it was just... I'm like, come on, throw me a bone. They're like, do you have any questions? One question. They said, yes. At some point in your presentation,
where'd you buy your suit?
Yeah. At some point in the presentation, they asked me, they say, you mentioned a survey. But here we have, on this date, you responded and said, you have no surveys of your customers. Where is that survey? And we said, what? And I'm so confused. I'm like, what survey? I didn't mention a survey. And so one of my team members is like, on this, we didn't say we have a survey. We said we are working on implementing this into our systems. It's being worked on so that we would have surveys in the future.
Right.
And they're like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, cool. Any other questions?
Nope.
Well, we thought you'd come all this way. You'd probably like to know where we are in our process. And we're really, really, really we're really disappointed, very concerned with what we're seeing. And I'm like, what? Dude, time out. Hold on.
You got the reverse standing ovation. You're like,
I just worked on this epic presentation that clears my name forever. Yeah. And but can I tell you what happened afterwards is they said the complaint letter is written. And our attorney at the time was pretty disappointed by that. He said, I thought we had an agreement that you would wait to hear my client before you wrote the complaint. And they were just like, whatever, dude. Right? So they said complaint's written. So we said, can we see it? He goes, you'll have it, very soon. Like it's getting ready to come out. So I was expecting. So we walked away thinking 1 week, 2 weeks, we'll see it. I was pretty bummed about the fact. I was bummed about the fact that I'm like, my presentation should make an impact. It was a strong one in the sense of it shared data and facts. Each slide had one data point. But I think actually, Greg, it did make an impact because they then asked, they reached out later, an hour or two later, they said, can we please get that
PowerPoint.
we'd like to send it up the chain. We need
Sure.
can we get the PowerPoint? Sure. Send it to them. And we didn't hear anything from them for 7 weeks. So if a complaint was written, we didn't hear about it. Nothing. And when the original version of the complaint came, it looked nothing like the settlement agreement with DK. So I've at least to some degree convinced myself that the presentation did make an impact at some level.
I always like to meet in person because for one of the reasons, it's easy to picture you as a, in the basement, like in dark shades and trying to scam people, But when people get to meet you or they get to meet my clients, it changes that impression. So they see you're a tangible person, you're a real human being with a family and real life concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And that humanization is super helpful. So if for any other reason but to create that like contact and context that they can understand who you are, it's important. Now I've had clients before where I've met with regulatory bodies and they've got the flat brim hats and they're backwards and they don't dress up well and they say stupid things to offend the regulatory bodies. And even though I've prepped them to not do that, I'm like cringing at. But most people, when you go and you have those, you're ready for those meetings and you present yourself and who you are, it's super helpful. So I love face-to-face meetings if they'll give them to you because I want to humanize my clients. You're not these demons that are hiding in basements. You actually do care for your customers and you have integrity in what you're trying to do. Maybe you've made a mistake on the way that you've presented things and some people have been confused by those, but it's not intentional. Yeah. And so by presenting that, I think it does add credibility for you.
Have you ever just like had lunch or dinner with an attorney that works at the FTC? Just like one that you weren't on opposition of case with and just like hung out with someone that works there?
No.
But you have with people that used to work there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, it for me, it's interesting. And people will say I say the following because I don't want to rub them the wrong way to get sued again. It's really not that at all. People say, man, you must really hate the FTC. I don't. Believe it or not, I don't. At the end of all of it, do I think it was a bit unfair? I do. Do I think there were better candidates? I do. Could I name 10 businesses and people
we did
right
yesterday.
Now? We did yesterday. We have an episode
where we bleep those out.
We bleeped it out. But could I name 10 people right now that I think deserve it way better, way more than I did? Absolutely. Do I wish the process was a bit different? I think that, yes. One of the processes I'd love to see changed is if you can send me a 35-page demand letter, I should have the right to see what's got you in a tiffy. So I should be able to ask you questions. What are the complaints that have caused this? Why are you here? What did you seek? Be specific. Tell me. And also, the warning letter, which I never received, that they send out, I think needs to be specific. I think that you should tell
notice of violation.
The notice of violation, I think, should be what are we doing specifically that you have an issue with. So I have my opinions about the process. Thankfully, I'm an American and we are allowed to have those. But I don't actually, having gone through it all, I was somewhat surprised by how professional they were. We were never told to shut our business down. They did not freeze my assets. They did not raid my office with the FBI. They did not, put a bunch of restrictions on me. They allowed me to be in business, do business. They were checking, they were watching, they would follow up, ask questions about certain things. Hey, you said this, can you prove that? Thankfully, at that point, we had proof for everything I was saying, but we got many extensions. But I will tell you, there are people I know who they weren't as kind to. And if you look at their cases, you go, oh, geez, I kind of know why.
Well, it's a sense of urgency is what it is. When they go out and they get asset freezes and they take that steps, generally there's a sense of urgency that they're worried that if it continues on, that one, they'll dissipate assets, they'll take all the money and they'll just spend it, or two, that they can't continue to allow this harm. Where your case is unique is it would be interesting to find out why the FTC brought the action in the first place, because you're not
any
in
way
atypical.
I can ever find that out.
No, I don't think. I mean, we asked and they said no, so I can't imagine.
Do you think if the lead attorney who came for me, if I wait patiently for 10 years for him to leave the FTC and go elsewhere,
unofficially, maybe he would say, I don't know. I don't know.
If you're watching, could you please,
No.
just as a courtesy,
My guess is no.
tell me? I'm just curious. I need closure.
What now? You asked like, what would you like in a different process? I personally think that regulatory bodies, they most of the time when the FTC or some Attorney General's office brings an action, they investigate the company for 6 months to a year prior to even noticing them about an investigation.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've had cases where they've had communications with a company for years before they finally said, no, we think it's this way. Well, why wouldn't you come from the beginning and say, hey, we don't like your business. If you continue to do this, we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that give you an opportunity first to reflect and say, okay, make a choice? I think I'm okay. I've consulted with my counsel and I'm going to continue to do business. Or, you know what? I don't want to go through this hassle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to take care of my clients and shut my doors. Or maybe if they came to you and said, hey, we don't like these elements of your business. And then you're like, well, thank you for letting me know. I will go ahead and make modifications and change that. I get that the law doesn't require that. I sit as a judge in 4 cities in Utah. And when I have cases in front of me, people will say, well, I didn't know that was the law. And ignorance is never a defense of the law, right? So I say that quite a bit. But where you're talking about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in litigation, and you think if you spend that, the government's spending that, because it's not 1 or 2 attorneys generally on the case, it's a staff of attorneys that are doing this. Wouldn't it be economically, fiscally responsible and help save consumers up front to go in to address those concerns with the company? And if they ignored you, then the hammer comes
All
down.
the more reason.
Right.
So if it comes down to protecting consumers,
Right.
I agree with you. I think that if that's the ultimate goal, which I believe it is their ultimate goal, I don't think it's to go out and
I don't
get
know if that
companies-
actually happens, though. There are cases that they've brought where they've shut down companies
And it hurts
and
consumers.
the customers don't get anything. Look at the Online Trading Academy case.
Yeah.
In that case, you had a group of customers that actually filed a lawsuit against the FTC because when they came in and got the asset freeze, it stopped all their services.
Stopped all the business.
They wanted that service.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's not reflective of 100% of their clients, but there was a good
big chunk.
big chunk of clients were like, hey, we like the service, we want to continue. You came in, you harmed us by bringing this action.
Yeah.
So just coming in and stopping a business doesn't automatically help the consumer at the end of the day.
And so I think that, so I've read the press release and what they said about me specifically. So, and a lot of people read this and think, oh gosh, Onik got this notice and was warned specifically and just ignored it and continued to do business.
But you never got the
And
notice.
I'm like, well, and I never got the notice. And even if I got the notice, I went back and looked it up and I read it, and it had named like 1,500 companies on there.
Right.
That included companies
Facebook
like Uber
and Google.
and Facebook, like all these
Yeah.
big companies.
Every
and,
MLM in
And
the
there was a
world.
bold text at the top that said, receiving this letter does not mean you are doing anything wrong. We're just making sure you know the rule. Like there's
That's
a
why I
bolded
hate
text.
the letters. I hate the letters.
So there's a bolded text that actually says the opposite of the intent of that letter. So I remember reading that bold text saying, oh, this is an FYI type of thing. And
Right.
what it would have been an FYI, I would not have caught, like, I would have never read that and thought that. Anyways, having said that, I don't think that qualifies as a warning personally.
No.
But let's just say I actually got a letter or a contact from them that said, "Hey, Onik, learn. Here's a few things we see you guys doing and saying, because come on, it takes eventually the things that they picked on to send the CID.
Right.
Watch 1 hour of my webinar, screenshot, dude, cut it out. Do you know what I would have done?
Cut it out.
I would have cut it out. I would have said, all the press is a shit. They're looking at me. This is a real warning, guys. What's the problem? Hey, Greg. Hey, attorney. And I would have cleaned up. And then 6 months later, if I got a thing, stop doing testimonials like this, and 6 months later, I'm still doing testimonials like that, hammer
Boom.
me.
Yeah,
Hammer me.
boom.
I deserve it. But the problem right now is the perception that's being put out is that I received a warning of that level and ignored it. But I didn't. And even the notice that did go out that I never received, it still didn't have that in it.
The people that have gone through investigations and settlements that they've gotten the NOV, I think they would all agree with you. I've looked at the letters. I remember the first client that I got was an MLM. they got the letter and they gave it to me. And then I looked it up and saw that they'd sent it to another 1,000 companies. It wasn't a direct marketer.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, well, just to put this in the back pocket. And if they're sending these to a lot of people.
Yeah. So here, let me play the FTC commissioner hat for a minute.
Oh gosh, Hermione.
Yeah, here we
well
go.
done.
I'm available for the position. No, I'm not.
I think it's filled at least until the election.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No.
Could stay the
My suggestion, I would think you would create a whirlwind. It would be easier. You'd have a group of juniors. They're not that expensive, even interns that are watching these presentations, reviewing and consuming, and taking those screenshots and taking a cookie cutter warning letter by
Right.
implementing the specifics and sending out a specific warning. I think you would cover a wider basis of businesses that would be getting the warning. And I think that you would get a large chunk. I really do believe this in my hearts of heart, that most marketers and business owners are not evil with bad intentions.
Well, I will throw a little kink in your plan, though.
Okay.
I mean, if I was going to take the devil's advocate position of the FTC on this, and I'll say this because when I meet with marketers and I start going through and I say, hey, you shouldn't do this, and then they're like, oh, well, then they try to find the workaround, right? And so the only worry I'd have with that is the marketers would get that and they'd see this warning and they're like, well, how can I work around this?
Yeah, well, they
And so
would.
how I can fix it.
And they would. And I think at that point, the end of the letter, I would say, should say, we advise that you seek appropriate counsel on this and
Go to don'tsaythat.com and use them.
Yeah, go to
Yes.
GoToGoToGo.com.
We think you should look at what they're doing over there. So, yes.
I would totally take the
Their endorsement of the
The
FTC.
endorsement
It's
would
never
be-
going to happen.
would be
But if
epic.
it did, it would be epic.
Never say never, Greg. Never say
That's
never.
true. I can't
Never
believe
say
in
never.
absolutes.
Yeah.
Absolutes. They're like shameless. I'm just doing.
Yeah, I forgot to promote the book on this.
I know.
episode, so
I'm ready. I'm doing.
Come on.
You're not doing it. You're the marketer.
I
I'm
know.
shamelessly promoting ourselves.
Give
on this.
us money.
Yes.
You hear all the stuff I went through? Come on, give me some money.
Yeah.
No, I still believe. I hear what you're saying, and I do. And I think that I would still say, had I received a very specific thing and then I found when I did marketerified it and I
Right.
tried to work around it, well, then, if I got hammered later.
What-
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sense. I get it. There's two sides.
What if the FTC did what we were doing? Like, we're trying to bring to knowledge. Like, look at the time and effort we're putting into this, and we're not the government. We're just trying to help marketers figure out what the rules are.
I hope they don't, because they would hurt.
Oh no, I know. For us personally, that would be a bad deal but for them, I mean, think about it.
It
The
makes sense.
training, it would make sense, to be like, hey, listen, this is what we see is wrong. This is what we see, and obviously they wouldn't get into what you should say type of stuff. But if they'll say, well, you can look online, you can see what our rules on testimonials are, and
But the net impression, the general consensus amongst the public, amongst marketers, is they don't know where to look. They don't know this stuff exists.
Right.
They do not know this stuff is important.
Right.
And so what could be done is utilize the merchant processors as a vehicle to deliver the fact that there is a depository of information that you're responsible for, and make a podcast. The FTC's Twitter following and social media following, I know, is big because I checked it, because they do press
Right.
releases on it. There is a vehicle to get this information out. I agree with you. I think you know what that is, Greg, though? I think the government as a whole, not just the FTC, I don't think they've really quite adapted to like the new social media, younger age content.
The problem
type
is that it's their whole kind of skepticism for the knowledge industry in the first place.
Yeah.
They think that it has to be formalized education in order to get the message out. And if they would just take some of the concepts that the industry has about teaching their clients on how to promote whatever, and put that into kind of guidance on there. And I get they could put a little disclosure that said, we're not giving you legal advice, go and hire. Don't say that.
Could have done say that for that. Yeah.
Or an attorney or somebody with competent, professional skills. They could say that, but I think it would help quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, so it's so funny because we were supposed to completely talk about a different topic on this episode.
We
but
want to talk about. It's good to talk about your experience so people understand.
Yeah, it is, and the reason I want to put this out there is because so many people make assumptions about my feelings and my thoughts about the experience, and
Or the assumptions of like, oh, you're just another marketer who's gotten hit and you're just going out and doing this. It's not that. It's just, we worked through this. I didn't go with you to the FTC, right?
Yeah.
We talked about it, but I wasn't kind of in the saddle yet on your case. And so we discussed you going in and all of that. I mean, if I had been there, it'd been a little bit different, but I mean, I liked the attorney you had. It wasn't like he did a horrible job. But the point is that you're not doing this because you know, like, oh, look, I'm going to be this new, rehabilitated marketer, and you're doing it because, one, you've learned something that you don't want other people to do. It's just like when you go and you spend money for an ad campaign that failed and you spend all the time and money into it and you realize, oh, I made this mistake. I want to teach my clients how to avoid that. Mm-hmm. It's the same principle. You're trying to say, hey, listen, this is a horrible experience. And the problem is most marketers hear you, but they don't believe you.
Well, they believe me, but they think it won't be.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be me. Yeah. I bet you thought it wouldn't be you.
Honestly, I didn't, Greg. I didn't think it was going to be me based off of the advice and legal counsel I was getting, which was I was told no complaints, no problem. Right. So I had the KPIs. I had the people on site. So the metrics that I was told are important to track and watch.
I thought as long as you refund people, you don't get sued.
Well, according to some gurus.
Oh.
And so I had a great refund rate. I had a great chargeback rate. I had response time to my customer support team, 36 minutes. I had no negative stuff online. Never been sued. Never had an issue. No state AG issues. I mean, so the metrics I was given, I was check. And I would look at that. I had a paralegal full-time in the staff, in the company, who would review every sales call that led to a sale. We would then refund people. We were on top of our sales team. We did not do aggressive financing programs. We did not allow home mortgaging. There was so much we did right, which I do believe created the context to help my case. I personally was paranoid, or not paranoid, but I was worried about it. I really was. And which is just, I didn't allow my company to ever have a program over $10,000. We never had a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100K, even though I know for a fact that millions of dollars was left on the table by not doing that.
Could have had some other programs.
But I didn't do that because I knew that the minute you get into those price points, people are going to take unsafe mechanisms to fund it.
Yeah, they're going to get credit cards at.
Right? Yeah. So it was like 10K is the max because I don't think we're going to, risk people in a big way doing that. So I had all these policies and rules in place because of that. It's just that, so I didn't believe I would get hit, but for what was in my head valid reasons, right? Which turned out not to be the right reasons. But now I'm talking to some of my friends who are marketers, who are doing big numbers, but they're not, I think, they won't tell me this, but I think they've convinced themselves that I was doing some shady shit.
Right.
And that I was doing bad stuff, and that there's a reason, and that one did tell me. One of my friends did say, "Well, Anik, you were a much more public figure. You were working with all these big brands: Robert Kiyosaki, Les Brown, Damon John, da da da." I said, "True, though we're spending about the same amount of money on ads as I was. You're spending the same. Like we're still. I don't understand.
Right.
I'm sure I drew a few more eyes towards me, but I don't think the FTC is like, oh, he's working with Robert Kiyosaki. Let's go nail him. Right? I don't think that. No. I don't think they cared about that. So I think in their minds, they find something that they think they're doing a lot better. Like one of my friends says, well, dude, have you looked at my Facebook group? I mean, it's results galore in there. I have so many results. Like people are getting results with my stuff. I said, oh God. The fact that you say that,
I know.
I'm going to make you even more of a target.
Right.
Because you're leaning on it, right? You're really leaning on the fact that... So, but they look at that and they say, Anik, you didn't have enough results. I read your press release. I read the complaint letter. You weren't getting enough results. I got a lot of results. So I'm good. I'm like, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Right? But then to make it worse, you've got all these gurus out there that they look up to that are saying, hey, we love Anik, but he deserved it. He was a bad guy. So because if they convince themselves of that, it immediately look. There was a case that happened around my case. Had I not received my notice and been investigated around the same time, and had someone else told me that company is being investigated, my exact reaction would have been like,
of course.
That was written on That was obvious that's going to
Yeah,
happen.
of course.
Like, look at that company. They're horrible. I would never have looked at that company's case and said, shit, I should tighten the hatchets. Because I would have immediately said, they're here, I'm here. Like, we're not even in the same hemisphere, right? But in the eyes of the regulators, in that regard, the context doesn't matter. Like, I'm doing the same violations that those guys were doing. So, yeah, there's a bunch of my friends, a couple of which we have hypothesized are currently under investigation. We don't know, but and I don't ask. It's not my business. But a couple we have based off of, guys, you can usually tell by how a marketer changes.
Scuttlebutt, and also if you listen to the you listen to the ground. I always have my ear to the ground.
Yeah, you just listen to it. Yeah. So there's a couple that I think would have said exactly that, or did say that to me a little over a year ago, that I believe now are personally, I believe they're under investigation. So, anyways, that was my experience. That was a portion of my experience. In the end, I'd just say the bigger hell of it, and it was horrible, by the way. I know I was pretty positive. Oh, they're nice. It's not about them. The hell that comes from this is from your mind.
Anxiety.
It's the anxiety. It's the not knowing. It's the fact that you could lose it all. It's the fact that they could raid your office. It's the fact that they could freeze your assets.
Right.
It's the fact that you don't know what they're thinking and they disappear on you for 2-3 months at a time. I'd be freaking out. I'd be calling Greg. I'm like, dude, I haven't heard any of that. Dude, it's common. They do that all the time. How can you say this is common? This isn't common. Like, what's going on? Like, did they drop the case? Are they accelerating the case? Did they send out other subpoenas? Am I going to go to jail? One last experience, which you're going to laugh at this. This shows you the mind where I was. I came to the office. Now, at this time, there's not many people come to the office, right? The Learn Center, unless we did events, there was no one really there. The people in the co-work side used to park on the opposite side. So the side that I see a car parked in, no one usually parks. I drive up to the office. It's one of those old Crown Victoria. It's that
undercover police car.
It's that Miami Vice, Will Smith driving around, bad boy, Crown Victoria with the little swivel light thingy on the front. I paid attention to see that, and there's someone sitting in it. And the car is parked backwards facing our building. Done. I was thoroughly convinced that is the FBI, and I'm done.
Person with a trench coat and hat on.
Yeah. So I walk into the building. I walk straight inside. I'm freaking out. And I'm like, shit, they're going to raid the office. Like, what the hell? Because this also was during a period where they had been silent for 2 months. I hadn't heard anything. So I called my attorney at the time. And he picks up, and I said, hey, I literally said, I think they're coming to get me. And he's like, what? I said, I just letting you know in case, I need you to, do some shit to, bail me out or whatever. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, there's a car out here. I think it's a cop car. It's an FBI car. I can tell. I think they're at the office. I think they're going to come in. Something's going on. They've been quiet. I get it. They've been building a case. They don't like me. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, Anik, calm down. That's not happening. This is not how this stuff works. So I'm pretty sure. I said, why else would there be a cop car, man? It's a cop car. I know it's a cop car. It's an undercover cop car. He's like, take a deep breath. I'm like, whatever. I hang up the phone. I call my wife. I said, hey, I need you to make sure if you don't hear from me, they taken me, call Michael or call so-and-so and make sure. I'm freaking out. And you're going to love what the funniest thing is. So finally, 10 minutes later, I look out the window. Still there. Right? The guy's still in the car. So I go I
see you.
Yeah.
I see you.
While I'm taking all my papers and burning them. No.
He's shredding. Light everything on fire. Don't let him find anything.
There's only 2 people in the building. It was me and the front desk person. So
she's looking at you like.
Sorry. By the way, just for the record, that's a joke. I was not shredding anything. I was freaking out, but so I go to the front desk person. Her name is Lisa, and I was like, Lisa, what is that car? And she goes, yeah, I've been looking at that car. It's been standing there for a while. I don't know what that is. Who is this? Can you, whatever. So I think, so I don't think she went out, but she comes to me. She comes to me 20 minutes later, and she goes, it's the building maintenance guy. He went to a car auction last week and picked himself up a nice car for $5,000.
Well done, sir.
That's the car. He picked up an old cop car. So
drives around in an overcoat.
Hasn't had time to take the swivel thingy off, and he's just chilling. He was just hanging out in the car, eating or something. And I just looked at her, and I know him. He's the nicest guy. I was like, "You tell him I said mother." I just lost an hour of my life in extreme panic. So I call the lawyer back. He's like, "You all right yet?" I'm like, "It's the building maintenance guy." He was like, "You need to calm down, dude. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time. You are past the point of being raided. They're not coming for you." I said, I don't know, man. I don't know these times. So people ask me, like, why then, if it were so professional, why do you say it was hell? It was hell because the unknown.
Right.
I had, and I didn't have to shut my business down, but I had to shut my business down. So when people say, "Why'd you shut it down?" I said, it wasn't the FTC. It was me personally and the attorneys. It was my attorneys. I said, "Dude, we need to pull back, just to let this thing float. Otherwise, we could make it worse." So, anyways, enough said about that. It was a shitty experience with a bunch of very professional people. You don't want to go through it at all. It's the worst.
Just imagine going doctor putting the glove on. I'm just saying, they can be professional, but it's not an enjoyable experience. I'm just telling you. You know what I'm saying?
That should be how this episode
begins. Yes. Yes, I'm just saying. The image is there.
I did say once as such when I was going through they're so good, man. They're so thorough. Like, they catch like the weirdest, smallest things. We're like, where is that? And so I was like, God, are they available for hire? Like, if I ever want to buy a company, I want them to do the due diligence. Like, I will pay.
Big Brother is watching, bro. I'm just saying, Big Brother's there.
Oh man, they
can dig deep.
They know everything.
Yes, I'm just like
dig deep. All right, on those high notes.
Compliance revolution. Compliance revolution. Don't stop. Don't say that.com.
If that made you feel even 5% bad for me, give us some money. Buy the book, all right? Buy the Academy. Join the revolution.
Don't be him.
Don't be me from a few years ago. It was not. Oh, man. I'll tell you, no money I've made, and I've made a lot. No claims. Not saying typical results.
Oh, well done. Well done, sir. Overdone, but well done.
But seriously, no money I've ever made was worth what I went through. It wasn't. Clean it up. Do it right. It works.
Hard to watch.
And it sucked. So anyways, with that said, if you want to be giant, go compliant. And get the book, don'tsaythat.com. Get the Academy, compliantacademy.com. We love you guys. Next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about social media and the content that you're responsible for on social media. With that said, Greg, thank you, as always, for your knowledge and your experience, and for your thanks for the visual. Yes. All right, guys. When life pushes you, stand straight. I don't know, smile and push it the heck back. And it will push you. It pushes you around. That's going to happen. We love you guys. We're here for you. All right. See you on the next one. Bye.